right, so this book is so awesome.
This is a must-have.
100%. We had a question from our last video we did, the Overstreet Advisor video, where we talk about your article in the recent 40th edition of the Overstreet. We had a question from Randy Sloan. He says, great video. What's a good book to read before I start buying Golden Age? As far as page count, how to check for restoration, thanks. So coupling this book with your Overstreet, I think is a good place to start.
Absolutely. The visuals in this book, the photojournal guide to comics, shows you every single Golden Age published, just about. There are a few missing pieces because the gentleman who put it together, Ernie Gerber, was unable to find images for every book.
Isn't that crazy to think?
It is
there's
crazy.
some unknown covers that exist out there.
Yeah, and this is pre-internet, so he literally went from home to home of major collectors and took photographs of their personal collections so that we can have it laid out in this format.
It's awesome. Hardcover. You mentioned to me when I asked you when we were in New York, I'm like, I need a place to start. Where can I start learning? You said, oh, you don't have the journal? I had no idea. So I went to Amazon and picked up the A through Z, both books, and it's been a huge tool. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. This is the ultimate coffee table book for any comic book enthusiast.
Every picture, man. It's like every page. It's just every Golden Age comic book is right here in front of me, and I love it.
Yeah,
it's
it gives
very
you date of publications, and it tells you the rarity level, which is also very important in just knowing when you find something, how scarce it truly is, not just the word thrown around scarce or rare.
It gets into preservation. It gets into even grading, because grading gold is a completely different ballgame.
It is different. Paper's different. Page counts are different. There's a lot to it. Staple, 1 to 2. And grading's a science as it is.
Exactly. So what are we here today for? Well, you know what? It's October. We did, it's horror month. And I thought this is a great time for us to dive back into the Overstreet and do another top 10 video, because we have a top 10 sci-fi list, science fiction, one of my personal favorites. And since you are the Overstreet advisor of the group, what better person to have here to bust through this list?
Thank you. I'm excited to bust through this list. I did see it, and I be honest with you, I was not a list that I would 100% agree with.
Oh, I love hearing that.
Okay, I'll be honest with you, and I'll get into that later. But we should definitely cover these top 10 that Overstreet has decided is the top 10 for us to look at and read.
Heck yeah.
And it's in black and white and it's printed, so it must be true.
100%. You want to hit that like, you want to hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions for the Golden Age Guru, who is now part of the team, please put it in the comment section below. But let's dive into it with number 10.
Fawcett movie number 15, The Man from Planet X.
All right, so this is funny because you got here, you're looking at this list with me, and you say, Tom, I actually went and checked this movie out, and I checked the movie out last night too. You can find it on YouTube.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, I thought I'm doing my due diligence. I'm watching movies for you guys from 1951.
Black and white.
All right.
Sci-fi goodness, man.
Absolutely. And B-level sci-fi goodness.
Hard B.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Like, it's the Planet X. It gets so close to Earth that the aliens have to visit Earth, and they speak in musical languages. It's pretty interesting. And then they run into the wrong person who wants to take advantage of the aliens. So the aliens got to just wipe out the human race. The guide puts it at $3,800 in the highest grade range that exists for this book. It's classic sci-fi. It's a movie adaptation. It's a really cool cover. What are your thoughts on this book?
I've had this book once or twice, all very low grade. Okay, and all the books on this list in high grade are going to fetch a good dollar amount. And not only because they're high grade, but because they are tough in high grade already. So for The Man from Planet X, it's a cool cover. It's classic. It's one of Fawcett's movie publications, so they started to publish movie titles.
Okay.
This is towards the end of that. This is 1952, about a year later after the movie. So the movie had some success, so let's make a comic out of it. Fawcett's already pulling straws because they're about to fold or so 3 years later. And they're trying to find as many ways to publish comics as possible, outside of just superheroes.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Atomic Age, again.
Yeah.
I love Atomic Age. As will you.
Yeah. By the end of this, you're going to love Atomic Age.
Yeah.
I love it.
So it's science fiction. Classic. Value, I wouldn't be surprised to see that in high grade value. It's a tough book.
Right.
It's a cool book. And at number 10, I don't hate it.
If it has a spot on the list.
Yeah. For this list, at number 10, I'm okay with that.
All right, cool. Let's move on to number 9. Now, this one's interesting here. Weird Fantasy number 13, but it's not number 13. This is number 1. Help us out here, because a lot of these numbers are very strange.
It is. EC's numbering gets really complicated, and there's a whole lot to get into why they did what they did, but it starts at number 13 because it continues, because it began with issue 1 with Moon Girl and the Prince, And then number 2 to, I believe, 6 was just Moon Girl. And then 7 and 8 became Moon Girl Fights Crime. And then let's change it up again to issues 9, 10, 11, 12 being a moon, a girl, a romance. I mean, just that title alone is like, when you see it on the comic, it's like,
It takes up like
hard
most
to
of the
read
page.
it. Yeah, it's hard to even read it. You're like, how am I supposed to say this? And the A is like very stylized. So even then, you're even more confused. And then they kick off number 13, again, changing that to Weird Fantasy number 13, which is really number 1 for this title.
Boom, Sci-Fi, introducing it. And it's a pretty cool cover.
Mm-hmm.
Scientist at his desk, right?
It is. And Weird Fantasy is a great title for EC. I mean, it was one of their longer running, 22 issues, I believe. And the other thing is, when you go through this list, you're going to see that the same artist did the covers for all the ECs in here, Al Feldstein. And the nice thing about Al Feldstein is he had probably issues, people pronouncing his name, Feldstein, and he would actually draw a little mug as part of his signature on some of these covers you'll see. And you'd be like, why is there a mug there? Because Stein, mug, Feldstein.
It's how people like pronounce it right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Know who I am, man.
Yeah, know my name.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. And this book clocking in at $4,000.
And this is a tough book. And a lot of these will be tough. And that's a cool cover. I mean, that is a classic EC book. So $4,000. Yeah.
It sounds right.
It sounds right.
All right. He says it sounds right, so we can move forward. All right, coming in at number 8, Mystery in Space. This is issue number 53. Now, this isn't the first appearance of Adam Strange. This is the first appearance of him in his own title, correct?
Yes.
So this is like his stories start here?
Yeah, it seems like his stories begin here.
Okay.
I mean, he's on the cover. His stories start here. We have it at number 8, 4,500. I don't believe this should even be on the list, to be honest.
Really?
You know, not to disgrace this list, but I've had this book. It's not hard. It's not scarce. Maybe in high grade, sure. But even in mid grade, I have trouble selling this book, period, or interest level in it.
Really?
You know, it's not a first appearance. His stories begin in this title. So I don't know why it's on here. $4,500. That better be a 9A copy.
It's got to be high grade. Menace of the Robot. It's a cool book.
Yeah, it's a cool book.
But maybe not deserving of the list. Who knows?
It's really not. But we can get into more of that later.
Well, we're going to get into it right now because we have a 3-way tie for number 5. Now, typically when we do a 3-way tie in a list, we just make all the numbers the same. But since you're an Overstreet advisor, I want your opinion and I want you to sort these the way you see fit based off of consumer interest and what you think actually is going to move on the show floor when you're out and about wheeling and dealing. So why don't you hit us up with number 7?
So number 7 for me would be Journey into Unknown Worlds. Okay, and it's by Atlas, who eventually became Marvel, and before that was Timely. But it's really the only Marvel-like title on here. Everything else is DC or EC or Fawcett.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't even notice that. This is the only Marvel-ish comic book on here.
Exactly. So it's on here, and I have it as number 7. It's cool. It's a fun concept because it's Venusians versus Martians. So it's basically aliens from Venus, aliens from Mars, meet on Earth for a battleground, and we're basically caught in the middle in this attack.
That's right. You have
aliens.
like these both different kinds of spaceships just fighting each other with humans on the ground going, what the hell's going on?
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty cool.
The concept's great.
Concept's great.
The art seems a little remedial. The cover, I think, could be better, especially for what's presented in the 50s for science fiction. But it's on this list, and since it's on here, I'm going to put it at 7.
All right. And what are we seeing this price at?
$4,800 in extremely high grade. I believe there's a 9.0 right now on eBay for like $3,000. So I'm assuming $4,800 would have to be higher than that.
Okay.
Maybe around the 9.6 range, 9.4 range.
Journey into Unknown Worlds 36 is actually a number 1 in the series as well. The first of that title, similar to the Weird Fantasy 13, correct?
Absolutely correct. It's a very good point.
Now let's move on to number 6. Also with that $4,800 mark, where do you place number 6 on this list?
So number 6, I place Showcase 15.
Ooh, Space Ranger.
Yeah, first appearance of Space Ranger. It's a black cover, set in space. So in high grade, it's a tough book. It's already a hard book in nice shape, and this time frame it can be difficult. But having it be a black cover in high grade is hard. So I can see $4,800 for this book in high grade.
You basically have 2 heroes of the science fiction cast. You have Space Ranger and then the aforementioned Adam Strange. both without superpowers, both of them that hold like these kind of plasma ray guns and that are traveling through space and time. And they're just like super smart heroes.
Yeah, exactly. They're just geniuses who have fantastic weapons and phasers. Space Ranger apparently has a sidekick that is able to morph,
Yes.
which is interesting. Heroic blood in them to save the day.
That's right. Going through space and time, and a book going for, again, right on that $4,800 mark, showcase number 15. So now we're at number 5. So of these 3 that you mentioned, this one made it to number 5.
Very easily was for me to move this ahead of the other 2 was the Weird Science Fantasy Annual.
Good pick.
Yeah, thank you. Those EC annuals are tough, especially the first ones already. There's a few different kind. Being, 128 pages? So they're square bound.
A lot of yarn.
Yeah, a lot of yarn, a lot of stories in there.
That's right.
Right. So it's a square bound book, which means it was stapled together and then glued the cover on. But that's a lot of tendency for that cover to rip when you read it, being so thick, right at the corner. I see that all the time. Paper quality wasn't the best, but 128 pages of reading. People love
16
that.
stories, man. That's a ton of science fiction right there.
That is a lot. There's a lot of value there as a kid when you're buying something that thick. But again, hard to find and extremely rare in grade. And low grades, you can find them. But to have something in high grade of this book, I'm not shocked at 4,800.
Is 4,800 seem low or pretty spot on, you think?
I'm going to speculate probably a bit low.
Ooh, okay.
At least in the 9.0 range higher.
Okay.
So
Very cool. Is that something that you see often when you're out and about, or is that just one of those ones that come up on a rare occasion?
I do not see that book often.
Okay.
At all. So that's how tough it is to find those annuals, especially the first ones. I've seen second and thirds of some of the other titles, but the first ones are always the hardest.
Love it. Love it. Let's move on to number 4. We have Weird Science, number 12. This is another one where it's number 12, but technically it's number 1. All right. Weird Science, number 1. This is a $5,000 book, and this was ranked 8 last year. So this has moved up quite a bit. We're seeing a 25% increase, $1,000 increase year over year. So we definitely had some sales here. And this right here is just introducing the scientific suspense stories, Like this is starting up science fiction in this run, introducing the readers that weren't reading science fiction into this new genre.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Again, EC pushed that science fiction envelope along with their horror. And with this Weird Science number 12 or number 1, and like all ECs, in the last 9 months, ECs have exploded.
Heck yeah.
They were stagnant for a couple years. So it's really great to see them pushing through again. And it's hard for me to keep anything in inventory. I literally just sold 160 books to one person who wanted these ECs.
It's a bug. You get bit by that golden age bug, it goes hard. And what's cool about this book is that this is a sci-fi story in here that has a scientist that decides to shrink himself, and he keeps shrinking. He goes into the microcosm where he's dealing with like proteins and atoms. Like he keeps shrinking and he can't stop. So I like to look at a lot of these stories as kind of like what probably set the stage and even sprouted the idea for heroes to come later in the Silver Age. These are like ideas of like origin stories for superheroes in some of these. So it's cool to see like some of these is interesting storytelling, especially with a sci-fi horror perspective.
I believe you're absolutely correct again, because you'll find that when you listen to other artists back as far as the Golden Age, they all took reference material and they referenced stuff from pulp magazines. So you have everybody building on each other's history and knowledge and their experience and what's been published already, and then sparks an idea in the next artist or the next creator, which then sparks another, or they see some rendition of it, and like, you know what, I can do that, and I can add this to the story, and I can add this to this character. So everything is built up, absolutely, and you'll see that little tidbits. You'll be like, oh my god, that's so original. Well, it's really not that original. Why don't you go back about 10 years and you'll see that it's already been done and now just been modified.
Moving on to number 3, Strange Adventures number 1, going for $5,200. You're seeing this price just kind of creep up a little bit more. And this is Destination Moon. A ton of reprints of this issue and this story. This is just classic sci-fi right here.
Yeah, classic sci-fi. It was a popular movie at the time. Won Academy Award for special effects back in 1950, I believe. Right. It definitely had its impact. Strange Adventures number 1, $5,200. I wouldn't be surprised. It ran for 244 issues. It's DC's first
huge.
sci-fi.
It's a huge run.
Yeah, it's DC's first sci-fi title. That's what it's been noted as.
Very good. All right, and then shout out to John Henry, all my They Are Giants fans. Destination Moon, Solid track from 1994. All right, moving on to number 2 here. Mystery in Space, number 1. We're creeping up this number here. $7,300. 1% increase year over year. This right here, Mystery in Space, starting the science fiction anthology title, the classic that went on for a number of issues, 110 to be exact. From 1951 to 1966, this features Adam Strange. This run ends up featuring Hawkman. This features Space Ranger, a number of classic superheroes as well as science fiction characters. What do you think about this book?
I like this cover a lot for this book. And I don't see Mystery in Space 1 very often. I have seen Strange Adventures 1 quite a bit. But seeing Mystery Space number 1, and that's a black cover as well, at $7,300, I wouldn't be surprised to see that being the number, to be honest. I could see $7,300 for a 9.4, 9.2 copy.
Okay.
It's a nice book. It really is. So number 2, I think that's probably a great place for it on this list.
Very good. And you think it's deserving to be on this list?
On this list, it's deserving.
All right.
On my list, it's not deserving.
Okay. So let's hit number 1, and then I'm going to ask you a couple extra questions here because this sounds like we have some gold that didn't make this top 10 list that deserves to be on here. Rounding out to number 1, don't forget to hit that like, that subscribe button. I want to see comments down below. We're talking gold. I like seeing gold hit this table. And if you want to see more, of Jeff, we want to see some comments in this comment section below. Showcase number 17, first appearance of Adam Strange, coming in strong, 5% increase year over year, $10,000 book.
This book, Showcase 17, absolutely, of all these books, should be number 1.
Hell yeah.
Okay? This book in high grade, mid-grade and up is tough, okay? And it's a very softer book, anything 6.5 and up. And I've seen prices on this book at shows just be ridiculous. So $10,000 for a high-grade copy of this book.
That's where it starts.
If somebody found a 9.0 of this book and $10K, I wouldn't be surprised if they would pull the trigger on it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool book.
Adam Strange gets hit by the Zeta beam, and it transports him 25 trillion miles to another planet. And this is just an awesome space travel intro to like this science fiction run that would become a cult classic. Adam Strange, classic character, awesome book, deserving to be on this list at number 1. But we're going to call this the honorable mentions section. We have the Overstreet advisor, so I feel like it's appropriate. Hit us with some gold that should have been on this list.
If you talk to most any collector who's a Golden Age collector on up, I don't believe any of these would be in their top 20.
Whoa.
Okay. There's so much that this list misses that it's almost quasi-shameful.
Ooh.
No disrespect to Overstreet because I love what they offer, and this
Sure.
is a very first-level list.
Okay.
I mean, the fact that nothing is older here than, 1950? So that doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Because there was plenty of science fiction. I don't know if they just rounded it up to Atomic Age. Hey, Atomic Age, Sci-Fi, woohoo. Let's talk a little gold.
Let's talk some gold. Narrow it down to just a couple because I'm feeling maybe another list being developed right now.
Yeah, because I could rant here for a while.
Oh, I like
So
it. Hit that
maybe we
like,
should
hit
do
the
another
subscribe button, guys. Let's make it happen. But give us a couple. Give us a little teaser here.
I'll give you a couple. Okay, so there's Planet Comics. Okay, that was a 73-issue run through the Golden Age. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, every cover was robots, aliens, spaceships.
No robots. Where are the robots?
Yeah, you're right. There's no robots here. So, like, for that to be completely missed, I have no idea. And we're talking big numbers on these books. Okay, I mean, a number 15, which is one of the harder books. Okay, a 6.5 sold for almost 11, or 6.0 sold for almost 11K.
Boom.
Okay,
That beat out every one of these on this list.
every one of those on this list gone already.
Boom.
So number 2, a 1.5 sold for 1,500. I mean, those books are amazing, especially 20 and down. Okay, so 73 issues completely missed on this list. Don't get it. Mystery Men had some great sci-fi covers. Also would blow a few of those books out of the water. Famous Funnies around the same time frame.
Ooh, that's a classic one right there,
Oh
man.
my God, Frank Frazetta's portion of 209 through 216.
It's some of the best art in comic books.
Absolutely. Don't know how none of those made that on this list.
Yeah, how is Frazetta not on any? All right, okay. Officially, we need to make another list. I'm going to put it on the audience to comment down below, to like and subscribe this video so we can get you back on the mic and we can dive further, deeper into the gold.
There's one more before we end that I have to talk about.
Oh, okay. Do it.
Okay. Starling Comics 49.
Oh, Bender. Of course.
Bender cover.
How was that not on this list?
No idea how this is missed. And right now, this book is crazy hot. I mean, I took down a number here. A 2.0 sold for $3,600.
Oh my gosh, 2.0.
And I've seen this book sell every year exponentially 25% more. And this year it's 30%. Wow. And like every 3-4 months, it seems like a little more, 5% more. This book is insane. I love it. It's an airbrush cover by Alex Schomburg. So it's a classic artist, classic cover.
And a memorable character that is probably more known than both Adam Strange and Space Ranger.
Yeah, you have to see this cover and be like, oh, Bender.
That's him. Boom. I love it. Thank you, Jeff. I do appreciate that. Appreciate the audience. Thank you so much for watching. And as always,
geek responsibly.
Enough said. Shout out to Kyle for repping the Geek Responsibly shirt. We do appreciate the support. And we are officially in November signups for the Mystery Mail Call. And the November Grail book that will be going out is this Batman Adventures 12, first appearance of Harley Quinn. Yeah, we're getting serious about this. Link in the bio to sign up.